The ship landed on station just as the three suns began to rise. Park stood at the window and watched the alien world come to life. She was far from Earth now, very far, and she was completely alone. The Galactic Combat Academy was the most famous military school in the known universe. For 3,000 years, it had trained the best warriors from 47 different species. Kings and generals had learned to fight within these walls. Legends had been born here. And now, for the first time in history, a human had been accepted. Picked up her small bag and walked toward the exit. She was 24 years old, not very tall, and she did not look like a warrior. Back on Earth, she had been an archer and a military analyst. She was good at watching things. She was good at waiting. She was good at thinking. But the aliens did not know any of this. They only knew what they had heard about humans. The moment she stepped off the ship, felt their eyes on her. Aliens of all shapes and sizes filled the landing area. Some had scales, some had wings, some were made of crystal, some floated like clouds of colored gas, and all of them were staring at her. A tall creature with blue skin and too many arms leaned toward its companion. It spoke in a language did not understand, but her translation implant turned the words into Korean inside her head. "That is the human," the creature said. "I heard they cheat at everything." "My father said humans are dangerous," the companion replied. "They do not fight fair." Kept walking. She had expected this. Earth's reputation in the galaxy was not good. Humans had only joined the galactic community 50 years ago, but they had already made a strong impression. Not a good impression, just a strong one. Humans adapted too fast. Humans learned too quickly. Humans refused to give up even when they should. To the older species of the galaxy, this was not impressive. It was suspicious. It was unnatural. It was cheating. The academy building rose before her like a mountain of dark metal, climbed the steps and entered through the massive doors. Inside, the air smelled strange, like burning copper and old books. The walls were covered with symbols she could not read. A young alien with green scales approached her. He wore a uniform that marked him as a staff member. "You are the human," he said. It was not a question. "I am Park. Follow me. The instructor wants to see all new cadets." Followed him through long hallways and up several flights of stairs. They passed training rooms where aliens practiced with weapons she had never seen before. They passed a library that seemed to go on forever. They passed a medical bay where doctors with 8 legs examined patients. Finally, they reached a large open area. About 40 new cadets stood in neat rows, waiting. Took her place at the end of the last row. The other cadets looked at her, some with curiosity, some with disgust, some with fear, looked straight ahead and waited. A door opened at the front of the room, and then the instructor appeared. She was a species of reptilian warriors known throughout the galaxy. She stood over 2 meters tall, with scales like polished copper and 4 yellow eyes that seemed to see everything at once. Her name was, and she had trained soldiers for 30 years. Walked slowly in front of the cadets, examining each one. When she reached, she stopped. So said, "You are the human." "Yes, instructor." 4 eyes narrowed. She turned to face all the cadets, but knew the words were meant for her. "Before we begin your training, I must address something important," said. Her voice was deep and cold. "We have a human among us this year, the first human ever accepted into this academy." The other cadets shifted uncomfortably, remained still. "Humans have a reputation," continued. "They are known throughout the galaxy as cheaters. They use tricks that other species cannot match. We call these tricks human hacks." Said nothing. "Adrenaline manipulation," listed. "Your bodies produce chemicals that make you faster and stronger when you are scared. Pattern recognition. Your brains find patterns in everything, even when no patterns exist. Endurance cycling. You can push your bodies past the point of breaking and somehow keep going. Adaptability. You change and adjust faster than any species we have ever seen. Turned to face directly. Her 4 eyes burned with cold fire. These are not skills, said. These are biological tricks. They are unfair advantages that your species uses to defeat opponents who should be stronger than you. Met the instructor's gaze. She did not look away. In my academy, continued, we believe in fair competition. We believe that the best warrior should win because they are the best, not because their body produces special chemicals. So I am telling you now, human. No human hacks are allowed. You will compete as an equal to your fellow cadets, or you will not compete at all. The room was silent. Every eye was on. Every alien waited to see what the human would do. Would she argue? Would she complain? Would she try to cheat anyway? Did none of these things. Instead, she smiled. It was a small smile, calm and quiet. It was the smile of someone who knew something that others did not. I understand, Instructor said. Her voice was steady and clear. But I want you to know something. Scales shifted color slightly. What is that? I will not need them. The words hung in the air like a challenge. Stared at the small human woman for a long moment. She had expected fear. She had expected anger. She had expected excuses. She had not expected this. We shall see, said finally. We shall see. But as she walked away, felt something she had not felt in many years. It was small and strange and uncomfortable. It was doubt. The first trial began 3 days later. It was called the Labyrinth of Echoes, and it was designed to break the week before training even started. Stood with 11 other cadets at the entrance to the maze. The walls were made of black stone that seemed to drink the light. Strange sounds came from deep inside. Grinding, rumbling, screaming. The walls move, Instructor explained from above. She stood on a platform where she could watch everything. They will try to crush you. They will try to trap you. They will try to confuse you. Your goal is simple. Find the exit, survive. A cadet named stood next to. There were insect-like creatures with hard shells and long antennae. They could feel vibrations through solid objects, which made them excellent at sensing what was behind walls. Human said, his mandibles clicked as he spoke. You should not be here. This maze will kill you. Looked at him calmly. Maybe. There is no maybe. You have no gifts, no special senses, no natural weapons. You are soft and slow and blind. We will see. The signal sounded. All 12 cadets rushed into the maze. Did not rush, she walked. The walls began to move almost immediately. Stone ground against stone with a terrible sound. Pressed herself against a wall and watched as 2 massive blocks slammed together just ahead of her. If she had been running, she would be dead. She waited, she watched, she listened. The maze was not random. Nothing was random. Everything had a pattern if you looked hard enough. That was what believed. That was what made her human. An hour passed. Heard screams from other parts of the maze. She heard the sound of bodies being crushed. She did not let herself think about it. She just kept moving. A cadet floated past her. There were creatures made of gas, able to squeeze through tiny spaces. This one was trying to phase through a narrow gap in the wall. Careful, said. They ignored her. It pushed into the gap just as the walls began to close. There was a horrible sound, like air escaping from a balloon, that had been crushed too fast to escape. Looked away and kept walking. By the second hour, she had learned the maze's secrets. The walls made a low humming sound before they moved. The dust on the floor shifted in the direction the walls would go. The air pressure changed just before something happened. None of these things were special. Any species could notice them, but only had thought to look. She found in a dead end. There was pressed against the wall, his antennae twitching wildly. The vibrations are wrong, he said. His voice was high with fear. Everything is shaking. I cannot tell which way is safe. Understood. The maze was designed to confuse the special sense, too many vibrations from too many directions. "Follow me," she said. His compound eyes focused on her. "You, why would I follow you?" "Because I can see the dust." "What?" Pointed at the ground. "The dust moves before the walls do. Watch." She took a step forward. The dust near the left wall shifted slightly, moved right. A moment later, the left wall slammed into the place where she had been standing. Stared at her. "How did you know?" "I watched, I counted, I paid attention," shrugged. "Humans are good at that." They moved together through the maze. His vibration sense was useless, but he did not complain. He followed the human and her strange ability to see what others could not. 3 hours passed. The maze grew more dangerous. The walls moved faster. The paths grew narrower. The screams grew louder. Finally saw light ahead, the exit. "Go," she told. "I will follow." They hesitated. "Why are you helping me? I was cruel to you." "Because it was the right thing to do." Clicked his mandibles in confusion. Then he ran for the exit. Followed more slowly. She was tired. Her legs hurt, her head hurt, but she did not stop. Humans never stopped. She emerged into the sunlight just as Instructor descended from her platform. The Instructor's 4 eyes examined with new interest. "You finished last," said. "I finished," replied. "Says you saved him. He says you watched the dust and counted your steps. He says you saw patterns that he could not feel." Nodded. "The maze was not random. It had rules. I just had to learn them." Was quiet for a moment. Any species could watch dust. Any species could count steps. "Yes, but only you thought to do it." Met the Instructor's eyes. "That is what humans do. We do not have special senses or natural weapons, so we learn to think. We learn to watch. We learn to find the patterns that keep us alive." Scales shifted color again. It was the same look she had worn when had spoken those words on the first day. "Doubt. You said you would not need your human hacks," said slowly. "But this, what you did today, is this not a hack? Pattern recognition, observation. These are things humans are known for." Shook her head. "A hack is a trick, a cheat, something unfair." She gestured at the maze behind her. "I use my eyes and my brain, nothing more. Any species has eyes. Any species has a brain. I just used mine." Did not respond. She simply turned and walked away. But approached as she sat down to rest. This attitude had changed. There was respect in his compound eyes now. "I was wrong about you," he said. "Many are. I will not make that mistake again." Looked up at the alien sky, where 3 suns burned in colors she had never seen on Earth. She thought about her grandmother back home, who had told her stories of ancestors who had survived impossible things. "We are the people who find a way," her grandmother had always said. "When there is no path, we make one." Smiled. The first trial was over, but she knew the real test was just beginning. And she was ready. The weeks that followed were the hardest of life. Every morning began before the first sun rose. Physical training, combat practice, weapons study, strategic planning. The instructors pushed the cadets until they broke, and then they pushed harder. Was not the best at anything. They were faster. They were stronger. The crystalline cadets could take hits that would kill a human. The gas creatures could move in ways that no solid being could match. In every single test, finished in the middle, sometimes lower, never at the top. But something strange was happening, something that made Instructor watch her more closely each day. Was getting better, not by a little, by a lot, and she never stopped. "Look at this," said Bren, the young who served as assistant. He showed her a chart on his data pad. "This is the human's progress over the past 5 weeks." Studied the chart. Most species improved quickly at first, then slowed down as they reached their natural limits. They hit their peak in week 2. They reached theirs in week 3. Even the talented ones eventually stopped growing. But's line was different. It went up, And up, it never curved, it never flattened, it just kept climbing. "This is wrong," said. "No species learns like this." "It is not wrong. I checked the data 3 times." "Then explain it." Bren hesitated. "I cannot explain it, I can only describe what I see." He pointed at the chart. "Every day she improves, every single day. The improvement is small, but it is constant. She never stops, she never rests, she never reaches a limit." Scales shifted to a dark color. "That is a human hack, the adaptability I warned about." "Is it? She is not doing anything special, she is just practicing." "No species practices like this." "Humans do." In the combat ring, faced for their weekly sparring match, the had beaten her twice before. His speed was too much for her. His attacks came too fast. But today was different. Struck first, a blur of motion that should have ended the fight, but was not where he expected. She had moved a fraction of a second earlier, reading the tiny shift in his weight that came before every attack. They attacked again, and again, and again. Each time was slightly better at dodging. Each time she lasted a little longer. She still lost. After 3 minutes, finally caught her with a sweeping kick that knocked her to the ground. But 3 minutes was much longer than 30 seconds. "You are learning my patterns," said. He did not sound happy about it. "Yes." "That is not fair. I have been fighting the same way for 10 years. It is my style." Got back to her feet. Her lip was bleeding, her ribs hurt, but she was smiling. "Then maybe you should learn a new style." His mandibles clicked in frustration. "This is what humans do. You watch, you learn, you adapt. You take our strengths and make them your own." "Yes," agreed, "we do." "It is cheating." "No, it is surviving." She was back in the ring the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. She lost every time, but each loss was closer than the last. By the 6th week, she beat for the first time. He demanded a rematch. She beat him again. The other cadets began to watch differently. Before, they had ignored her. She was the weak human, the soft creature who had no business at the academy. Now, they watched her with something like fear. "She does not stop," a cadet named said too. "I have never seen anything like it." "None of us have." "How do you defeat an enemy who gets stronger every time you fight?" Did not have an answer. Instructor called to her office that evening. The human stood at attention while they studied her. "You are confusing," said. "I do not mean to be. When I banned human hacks, I thought I was leveling the field. I thought that without your tricks you would fail. But I am not using tricks." "I know," his voice was quiet. "That is what confuses me. You are not faster than the others. You are not stronger. You do not have special senses or natural weapons. But you keep winning." Considered her words carefully. "Humans do not win by being the best. We win by refusing to stop. Our ancestors were weak creatures on a dangerous world. We could not outrun the predators. We could not outfight them. So we learned to outlast them." Outlast. We would follow an animal for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. We would hunt the same prey again and again until it had nowhere left to run. We would face the same challenge over and over until we found a way to win. Was silent for a long moment. "That is not a fighting style," she finally said. "No, it is a way of life." Left the office and walked back to her quarters. The other cadets watched her pass, some with respect, some with fear, some with a mixture of both. She did not care what they thought. She only cared about one thing: getting better. Tomorrow she would train again. She would fight again. She would lose again, probably, but she would learn from every loss. She would improve from every failure. And eventually she would win. That was the human way. That was her way. And nothing in the galaxy could stop it. The Crucible simulation was the most feared test at the Academy. 72 hours of constant danger. No sleep. No rest. Minimal food and water. It was designed to find the breaking point of every species. Most cadets lasted about 40 hours before their minds began to fail. The Academy record was 58 hours, set by a legendary warlord 100 years ago. When Instructor announced the test, she looked directly at. "Humans need more sleep than most species," she said. "This test will be especially difficult for you." Said nothing, but when asked for volunteers to go first, raised her hand. The simulation began in a massive arena that could create any environment. For the first 12 hours, fought through a frozen wasteland, dodging attacks from simulated enemies while the cold tried to kill her. Then the environment changed. A burning desert, a poisonous swamp, a maze filled with traps. Each new challenge came without warning. Each one was harder than the last. In the observation room watched the human on a dozen screens. Medical sensors tracked every detail of his body: heart rate, brain activity, stress hormones, muscle fatigue. She should have collapsed by now, Bren said at the 30-hour mark. Was stumbling through a dark forest. Her eyes were hollow, her movements were slow, but she was still moving. Her brain is cycling, Bren continued, studying the data. I have never seen anything like this. Her cognitive function drops, then stabilizes, then drops again, then stabilizes again. It is like she is sleeping while awake. That is impossible. For other species, yes. For humans, Bren shook his head. They are strange creatures. At the 40-hour mark, most of his competitors had collapsed. The cadets had failed around hour 30. They had lasted until hour 35. Even the strongest species were breaking. But kept going. At hour 50, she was climbing a mountain while simulated enemies shot at her. Her hands were bleeding. Her legs were shaking. But she climbed. At hour 60, she was crawling through a tunnel that was slowly filling with water. Her body screamed for rest. Her mind screamed for sleep. But she crawled. Stopped watching the other screens. Her 4 eyes were fixed on the human. "This is beyond biology," she said quietly. "This is something else." Bren nodded. "This is will." At hour 70, reached the final challenge. A simulated enemy command post defended by a dozen soldiers. She had to neutralize it to complete the test. She had no weapons. Her body was failing. Her mind was foggy. Any other creature would have surrendered. Attacked. She used everything she had learned, every pattern she had observed, every trick she had practiced. She moved through the enemy soldiers like a ghost, striking weak points she had memorized from countless hours of training. When the last enemy fell, stood alone in the command post, the simulation ended. The arena went quiet. She sat down on the floor. "Done," she said. Then she fell asleep. She woke in the medical bay, surrounded by machines that beeped and hummed. Instructor stood beside her bed. 71 hours and 14 minutes, said. A new Academy record. Blinked, trying to clear her foggy mind. "I finished." "You did more than finish. You broke a record that stood for 100 years. His voice was strange, soft, almost gentle. "You should be dead or brain damaged. Your body pushed past every limit we know. Humans are good at that." "How? Tell me how." Thought about the question. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her memory, telling stories of ancient ancestors who had survived impossible things. "Our ancestors were weak," said slowly. "They did not have claws or fangs or armor. They could not fly or swim deep or survive extreme temperatures. By every measure, they should have died. They should have gone extinct long ago." She looked up at the four-eyed Instructor. But they did not die. They refused. When everything said they should fail, they kept going anyway. They walked when they could not walk. They fought when they could not fight. They survived when they could not survive. That is not logical. No, it is human. Was quiet for a long moment. Then she asked the question that had been building since the first day. "When I banned human hacks, you said you would not need them. What did you mean?" smiled weakly. I meant exactly what I said. You think human hacks are tricks, special abilities that give us unfair advantages, but they are not tricks. They are who we are. She sat up slowly, her body aching. You cannot ban stubbornness. You cannot ban hope. You cannot ban the belief that you can win even when you should lose. These are not hacks. These are what make us human. Scales changed color several times. She was feeling emotions she did not understand. So when you said you would not need them, I meant that I would not need to use any tricks, because what makes me strong is not a trick. It is just me. It is just who I am. Stared at the small human woman who had broken a 100-year record, who had pushed past every limit, who had refused to stop when every logical analysis said she should fail. You are a strange species, said finally. Yes, we are. Nodded slowly. Then she did something she had never done for any cadet. She bowed. Rest now, Cadet Park, you have earned it. Lay back down and closed her eyes. She thought of Earth. She thought of her family. She thought of all the humans who had come before her, who had survived and fought and refused to give up. She was one of them. She carried their spirit inside her. And tomorrow she would carry it forward again. Graduation day came with a clear sky and 3 suns shining down on station. The plaza before the academy was filled with cadets, instructors, and visitors from across the galaxy. Holographic screens floated in the air, broadcasting the ceremony to 100 different worlds. Of the 40 cadets who had started the training, only 11 remained. They stood in a perfect line, wearing their formal uniforms. Their scales and shells and crystalline surfaces gleamed in the sunlight. And at the end of the line stood Park. She was not at the top of the class. Her scores placed her in the upper third, behind several and cadets who had natural advantages she could never match. But everyone knew her name. Everyone knew her story. Everyone knew what she had done. Instructor walked to the front of the plaza. The crowd fell silent. Today marks the end of a training cycle, began. Her voice carried across the plaza without any need for amplification. 11 cadets have survived the trials. 11 warriors will join the ranks of our graduates. She paused, her 4 eyes swept across the crowd. But this cycle was different. This cycle taught me something I did not expect to learn. The cadets shifted slightly. The audience leaned forward. For 30 years I have trained warriors from across the galaxy. I believed I understood what made a soldier: strength, speed, power, the natural gifts that each species brings to battle. Scales shifted to a deep color. I was wrong. A murmur rippled through the crowd. When the human arrived at this academy, I did not welcome her. I accused her species of cheating. I accused them of using biological tricks to win unfair advantages. I demanded that she compete without these so-called advantages. Turned to face directly. Cadet Park proved me wrong. The plaza was completely silent now. She did not use tricks, she did not cheat, she simply refused to stop. When she fell, she got up. When she lost, she learned. When she reached her limits, she pushed past them. His voice grew stronger. This is not a hack. This is not a trick. This is the human spirit. Felt her heart beating faster. She had not expected this. I have seen many warriors in my long career, continued. Strong warriors, fast warriors, skilled warriors, but I have never seen a warrior quite like this human. She did not win because she was the best. She won because she believed she could win, even when every logical analysis said she should fail, even when every other cadet would have given up. Stepped down from the stage. She walked directly toward. Cadet Park said formally, "You have not merely graduated from this academy. You have changed what this academy teaches." Stood at attention. Her voice was steady. "I only did what humans do, Instructor." Yes, and that is exactly the point. Extended her clawed hand. It was a gesture of respect between warriors, one that she had never offered to a cadet before. took it without hesitation. Your species is young in the galaxy, said. Many doubt you, many fear you, many think you are cheaters and tricksters who cannot be trusted. I know, but they are wrong. What makes you dangerous is not tricks, it is belief. It is the absolute certainty that you will find a way to win, no matter what stands against you. Nodded slowly, raised her voice so everyone could hear. Based on her performance and her character, I hereby recommend Cadet Park for the Vanguard program. She will be the first human in galactic history to receive this honor. The plaza erupted. Some aliens cheered, some protested, some simply stared in shock. The Vanguard program was the most elite military unit in the known galaxy. Its members were legends, and now a human would join them. Pushed through the crowd to reach. This attitude had changed completely since that first day in the maze. You earned this, he said. His mandibles clicked in the expression of deep respect. Thank you for believing in me. I did not believe at first, but you taught me something. Compound eyes shone. You taught me that the best warrior is not always the strongest or the fastest. Sometimes the best warrior is simply the one who refuses to lose. Smiled. She thought of her grandmother back on Earth, who had told her stories of ancestors who had faced impossible odds. People who had walked thousands of miles to escape danger. People who had fought against enemies that should have destroyed them. People who had built civilizations from nothing because they refused to accept defeat. We are the species that does not know when to quit, her grandmother had said. The universe will learn to respect that. Standing under 3 alien suns, having proven herself against the best warriors from 47 species, finally understood what those words meant. Bren approached her as the ceremony ended. The young assistant had become something like a friend over the past months. You know what happens now, right? He asked. The Vanguard program. More than that, you are the first human. Every species in the galaxy will be watching you. They will be looking for proof that you cheated, that you tricked your way in. Looked out at the crowd of aliens. Some were still staring at her with suspicion, others with admiration, others with something in between. Let them watch, she said. I have nothing to hide. And if they try to stop you, if they try to prove that humans do not belong here. Thought about the question. She thought about the maze and the crucible. She thought about every time she had been knocked down and gotten back up. She thought about her grandmother and her ancestors and everyone who had come before her. Then I will do what humans have always done, she said. I will prove them wrong, not by fighting them, not by tricking them, just by being who I am, by refusing to give up, by believing in myself when no one else does. She turned to face the alien sky one last time. Somewhere out there beyond those 3 suns was Earth, her home, her people. We are a young species, said quietly. We have only been in this galaxy for 50 years, but we have been surviving for much longer. We know how to face impossible odds. We know how to find a way when there is no way. Bren nodded slowly. I believe you. Good, smiled. Because I am just the beginning. More humans will come. More will prove themselves. And someday the whole galaxy will understand what my grandmother taught me. What is that? Looked at the stars that were just becoming visible as the suns began to set. That humans do not need tricks to win. We just need to be ourselves, and that is more than enough. She turned and walked toward her new future. Behind her, 47 species watched the human go. Some were already beginning to understand. The rest would learn in time.